Each separate impulse travels from the sensitive plate of the iconoscope in
Hi, this is ghoulishly Pullen, and you're watching Monster Creature Feature. Thanks for tuning in.
Good evening, boils and ghouls, and welcome to another insanely inane episode of Monster Creature Feature, the show all about monster movies and monster happenings. As always, I am your zombified nightmare of a host, Ormon Grimsby, also known as the Undertaker. Wait for it. There it is. What's that? Oh yes, thank you, Steve. We'll also be featuring an interview with the art director for that great horror mag, Rue Morgue. That's right, fiends, I'm talking about artist Gary Pullen. He ever so graciously took time out from his busy schedule up there in the Great White North to give us a shout. But that's not all. We also have a completely outrageous bit of cinematic insanity in the form of the 1963 German film, Ahead. And trust me, boys and girls, this is one hideous beast of a flick. I only wish I could gouge out my eyes so I could watch myself enjoying this movie. Woo! But more on the movie later. First, we have to tell you about a very cool short film directed by Gris Grimley. For the grossly ignorant among you, Gris is the artist behind many children's books such as Gris Grimley's Wicked Nursery Rhymes, Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Mystery, of Madness, and Gimmicks. And as mentioned, Gris and his company Mad Creator Productions recently finished work on their first film entitled Cannibal, Flesh, Riot. You know, there's not one word in that title I don't love. The story concerns itself with two ghouls on the prowl late one night in the graveyard. Sounds like any other night to me, but what say we check out the trailer?
Ghoul, a legendary evil being that robs graves and feeds on corpses. Hello, I'm Gris Grimley. The film you're about to see pertains to just that. Hideous fiends carrying out their diabolical plan of grave defiling and cannibalism. But I feel that it would be unfair of me to expose you to such a film without a bit of warning and historical insight on the subject matter. The ghoul is commonly misconstrued with the vampire and the zombie. This is incorrect. The vampire feeds on the blood of living victims. The ghoul, however, is perfectly satisfied feeding off the flesh of a dead cadaver. Zombies are reanimated from the dead. Sure, they feed on the flesh of the dead, but they too are dead, where the ghoul is very much alive. The ghoul dates back to Arabian folklore. They are believed to be the children of Iblis, the Islamic Satan. Here you see Iblis in the company of ghouls and his pet monkey, Chico. People in the folk medium believe that ghouls have walked the earth since its creation, but the ghouls were cast into the earth only to surface at night, in which they would feed on the dead. The ghoul is believed to be a shape-shifting demon and can change into any animal, especially the hyena. In Japan, it is customary to cremate the dead rather than bury them in the ground. Therefore, the ghouls must ambush and steal their corpses at the ceremonies. Most people are familiar with the witch trials, but very few people know about the ghoul trials, with their hangings, their fires, and the piles of corpses. In North America, the modern ghoul is known to blend in with humans, living amongst them and dressing like them. Yet their practices remain the same: grave robbing, necrophilia, and cannibalism. I hope you don't mind if I have my dinner while you watch this film. It's a little tale I call Cannibal, Flesh, Riot.
How'd you get out of your grave, Stinky? More importantly, who or what is buried in your place?
I'm a ghoul. I eat dead people. I only eat dead people too. But you don't mix it up, put a little jazz in your everyday grunt. So who we looking for again? His name was Heckles. Clarence Heckle. This'll do just fine. Some human walks into your house and sees the trim of your pallet. You bet the hog the whole town is coming after you with pitchforks and torches and a noose for your neck. Bon appetit.
You gotta love a film about two guys just out for a bite. You can find out more info on Cannibal Flesh Riot at madcreator.com, as well as all sorts of information on Gris Grimley. Check it out, his work is quite ghoul. They're planning a DVD release sometime in July for the San Diego Comic-Con, and we're told it's going to include the soundtrack as well. So, if you get a chance to go out to the con, be sure to stop by Griss's booth and tell him Monster Creature Feature said, hello. Yes, well, before we get on to our main course, we'd like to bring you the man behind all the cool artwork of Room Org magazine. Yes, Gary Pullen. Let me just fire up the old plasmatron and see if we can get him tuned in here. Let's see. Oh, yes, here we go. Gary, are you receiving me? Thank you for being with us tonight, Gary.
It's certainly my pleasure.
So, Gary, how did you become interested in monsters?
Well, I guess the earliest memory I have of, horror or monsters or anything like that, the macabre, would probably be watching a cable show that was broadcast out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, called Hilarious House of Frightenstein. And it guest starred Vincent Price, and the other star of the show is Billy Van, who played about 10 of the characters on the show. And it was this really trippy, crazy, psychedelic 70s, variety kids show. Really campy, really offbeat, and I'll never forget the intro to the show with Vincent Price's laughing, floating head and lightning and the kooky music. So certainly that's probably the first thing that got me interested in it, because he was spoofing Dracula and Igor and Brucey as Frankenstein and all that stuff. And then after that, there was another show that came out of the States, the U.S., which was a cable show, a TV show out of Cleveland, and it was called Soup's On, and everyone I talked to can't remember the show, but he would show, Godzilla movies, the classic Universal films, and that's pretty much what really got me into it.
Yes, the House of Frightenstein. Wow. Yeah, those guys sure were wacky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it certainly is, and the show is sort of a sign of the times too. And there's just it's just rife with stuff from the times, like the 70s, and it's sort of a little picture into like the aesthetics from that time, and like even the sound design on the show, and the Wolfman spinning Rolling Stones songs, and Sly and the Family Stone, and it just blew my mind, and I was like you, I was like 5 or 6, 7 years old at the time, and and then the fact that Vincent Price was on there too, is pretty amazing.
Man, yeah, and the choice of music the old Wolfman played, what was up with that?
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a sort of take on Wolfman Jack, but I bet you that's the music that the cast and crew were into, and they were probably part of that, whole generation that came from the 60s, right? So that definitely bled into the attitude on the show.
So after college, on to product work, I understand?
After I graduated college, I moved to Toronto, which was a pretty big city for me, coming from London, which is sort of a middle-sized city. I got a job at a packaging firm, and then I was a junior designer. So really for the first 3 or 4 months, half a year, all I did was cut out, make fake chocolate bars to put other people's designs around them so the client could look at them how they looked, cutting up boxes. I didn't do too much designing when I first started. But then slowly I got to work on some of the jobs with the other designers, and then by the time I left there, I was probably considered like an intermediate designer.
And how did you make your way to working with Room Org magazine?
Well, I guess a lot of graphic designers they can design really well, but they can't really illustrate too well. A lot do, but there are some that don't. And I was always illustrating, drawing. I always thought it was one of my stronger points, I guess. So I was kind of doing both. And when I moved to Toronto, I saw issue 3 Rue Morgue, and I was really impressed with it. And then I looked in the masthead, and it said that it was from Toronto, and I couldn't believe that there was a horror magazine in Toronto, and I was in Toronto, and I had to get involved. Like, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I had to get involved somehow. And I met Rod at a screening of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond in Toronto. And he had a booth there selling the early issues of Rue Morgue. So I gave him like this crappy business card I made in college and said, hey, you know, I'm a designer, illustrator. I'd love to get involved with the magazine. And he said, send me some samples. So I put together a package, sent it to him. And like a couple days later, I had a meeting with him. He must have been impressed with the drawings. So, you know, we talked in length about, you know, about the magazine, where he's taking it, what it's all about. And I started to do really small things here and there because I was still working full-time at the design firm. And, you know, I was doing little things here and there. And he you know, basically the big thing that I ended up doing was redesigning the Rue Morgue logo, the masthead. And that's been the masthead ever since. And then, so I was doing, you know, he would you know, just call me up every, you know, while the monthly was the issue was 6 issues a year at that time. So he would call me, and whatever he wanted me to do, I would do, and I would be moonlighting at my old job, working on this stuff. And eventually, the magazine started to do very well. And he could afford art director, a layout guy. So I pretty much told him from day one that I wanted to be that guy.
Yeah, we really like Rue Morgue around the crypt. It's got a great look to it.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's you know, I try to tackle everything I do there with a level of professionalism, and I just try to make it look good. And I also want like other artists to look at it and go, okay, these guys know what they're doing. Like, you know, I mean, we obviously, you know, we have a very short period of time to crank these issues out. We're monthly now, so but you know, we put in the time, and we try to make it look good, and you know, and just try to make it look pro, and hopefully, you know, like people like other artists and just regular readers or whatnot, they look at it and they think that it looks really good. You know, I was inspired by you know, guys like Chas Ballin, who did Deep Red. He had a real DIY approach to Deep Red, but it still looked cool. You know, so that, you know, that definitely inspired me to kind of kick it up a notch a little bit. You know, you look back at the famous monsters, and they didn't have computers back then. They were probably laying everything out, cut and paste, but it still looked cool. And a lot of the type looked like it was done by hand. So I try to do some of that stuff too. And not only me, but my assistant Brett Backer. He's helped me greatly to, you know, just make the magazine look good.
What are your schedules like over there at the magazine?
Usually it's we always work a month in advance, right? So basically, if we're working, you know, in April, we're working on the May issue that has to hit stands May 1st. So the turnaround is like 4 weeks between each issue to you know, get all that content, all the features we want, and we're pretty aggressive with stuff too as far as content goes. Like, you know, we don't just like slap like 2 paragraphs of content and then the rest is pictures, right? Like, we try to talk to like a lot of different people, and the editors are really good at, like, you know, like creating a concept for, you know, the stories that are in the articles that they want to put out there. So I mean, that takes a lot of groundwork too, just because we always try to like tie things in, you know, to the articles, and, you know, try to interview as many people as we can. So it's a lot of work.
Yes. Can you tell us about any artists that have been an influence on you?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously Basil Gogos is a huge one. I think anyone who is a horror artist or is into horror that does, you know, art, is Basil's probably on the top of the list. But, you know, Bernie Wrightson's another one. I remember picking up Creepshow, the comic, when I was a kid, and his stuff blew me away. And Vincent Locke, who used to, I think he's back doing it again, but he used to do Dead World, which was like a 80s zombie comic. I always loved his style, really splashy and loose. Joe Coleman, definitely, the Outlaw artist. His stuff is a trip, and even stuff like Robert Crumb. Like, I'm a huge Robert Crumb fan, and some of that 70s underground comics stuff. Chas Ballin as well, like his Gore Shriek comics. I remember buying those when I was younger, in the 80s. All that stuff is a huge influence on me.
Do you ever drop by the convention scene where folks can get up close and personal with you?
Yeah, I do. I've been to Chiller and Horror Find, and I've been to, Monster Bash and Cinema Wasteland. And they're always a lot of fun, and it's great to meet the readers of the magazine. Those are the people that, those are the people that, that are your, brotherhood, and it's really a lot of fun. So yeah, I go to quite a few.
Do you have any ambitions to work in film, perhaps?
A film, and yeah, well, you know what, I've always had some ideas. I've got like characters in my head, but I've never really spent the time to, write them out. And it's something that I really have to take the time to do. And of course, I've got interest. Like, if I could hook up with somebody to help me write a script, I'd totally be into that. But right now it's like concentrating on Rue Morgue and doing some of the freelance stuff I do. It's like it's hard to find time for stuff like that. A good friend of mine, Vincent Marconi, he's got his own website production company called mypetskeleton.com, and he does some amazing stuff. And we're always talking about stuff like that, and how great it would be if we did like an animated short together, or like combined our styles. And yeah, so that's another thing that I definitely would like to tackle one day.
Maybe you can talk a bit about how you work.
Well, it usually just starts with sketching. It depends. Like, if it's an illustration, say something for a band, which I like to do a lot of stuff for, like, bands. I've done stuff for the Creep Show and Electric Frankenstein. So basically what I'll do is kind of get a feel for what they're looking for. Sometimes they just let me kind of go crazy, but it usually just starts with like just sitting down doing some sketching, and then figuring out how I'm going to do it from there. A lot of the stuff I do now is like I do on the computer, meaning like I'll sketch it out in pencil, and then I'll take it into Photoshop and color it in Photoshop. I haven't used markers or pencil crayons in years. That's really why I want to get back to like doing some painting, to kind of get back to the sort of the grassroots of art, I guess. But it really all depends on what I'm doing. Like for the magazine, like to lay out an article, say on Fulci, well, you got to get a lot of images together, and then you just kind of like pick like a color scheme and kind of go from there. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff in pen and ink as well. And then I just scan it into the computer and just kind of rock on Photoshop.
The future of horror looks pretty bright these days. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think, horror has always been big. Like, I think one of the first films ever made was Edison's Frankenstein, So it's kind of like horror has always been around. And it does kind of go in waves, trends come and go. But, I think people still like to be scared. They like to, feel unsafe in a safe environment. And that's what horror films do for people. So I think as long as people still, want to get scared or want that jolt or, want that excitement, horror films are always going to be around. And yeah, they are really popular, and that's obviously good for guys like us, But, not business-wise, but, just like, just like cool-wise, like, it's like, this is our hobby. and you know, we can you know, go to a theater or whatever, go to a video store and find any horror movie you want, and you know, that's just a really cool thing. So
And what projects might we look forward to in the future from you?
I definitely want to do a coffee table art book, like the ones that Last Gasp put out, you know, or Fantagraphics. Like, to do something like that would be amazing, and I'm totally into doing that stuff. And also, you know, I'd like to get some stuff, like to maybe do a gallery show one day. I've never done a gallery show. So that stuff's all definitely down the road. I just launched my site last year, ghoulishgary.com, and I also would like to start painting and just do art for art's sake, and you know, just try to come up with some creepy stuff on canvas.
Well, that was just delicious. We'd really like to thank Gary for being with us tonight. And again, for more information, you can check out Gary's website at ghoulishgary.com. Patience, my prize. Just a little something I picked up while I was out earlier, stalking the graveyards. We'll deal with you in a few moments. Well, now on to the main event, as it were. Tonight, we give you part one of The Head. It might not be a classic per se, but hey, it's better than the alternative, right? I mean, what do you got to choose from on the other channels? American Idol, America's Next Invention, America's Got Talent, which I really liked back when it was called The Gong Show. No, you're gonna stay right here with me and watch a cool cheesy flick. And this one's definitely heavy on the cheese. It hits all the gooey sweet spots. There's a mad scientist, a hunchbacked assistant, a couple of severed but still living heads, and a stripper. Sounds like the references on my resume. Pretty much a formula for surefire success, if you ask me. So let's sit back and check out The Head. Woo! Oh, soon, my sweet, soon.
Irene Sanders. Good evening, Walter.
Good evening.
Here are the x-ray photos that Professor Abel asked for yesterday. You look completely worn out, Walter. Is anything wrong? The professor is driving you too hard.
No. He's a genius, and it's really a pleasure to work with him. But he's beginning some experiments that, in my opinion, exceed certain ethical limits.
Why? What do you mean?
Irene, you know me. You know that I'm not what you might call a very religious man.
No, that's true.
But now I'm starting to question certain things. Has any man the right to compel nature to surrender her closest secrets? I can't answer. I'm very much confused.
Walter, has the professor spoken to you yet?
About what?
About me. He examined me 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to know if...
Oh, I'm sorry. I really don't know what's wrong with me these days. Yes. Well, he's very satisfied with his findings, and he's convinced an operation can be successful. But I'm worried, Irene. You know there are risks involved.
I have full confidence in the professor. Walter, I'm so lucky. Oh, just to imagine, I'll be able to stand straight at last, and nobody's going to stare at me.
On the contrary, I think that men are certainly going to look at you.
Walter, where are you? I need you.
The professor wants me. I will be able to see you soon. We'll talk about it then. Goodbye, Irene.
Good night, Walter.
Excuse me, nurse. I'm looking for the house of Professor Abel.
That's it.
Who is it? Dr. Ood with a message from Professor Hartman.
Hello, Dr. Wood.
Good evening, Professor.
May I present Dr. Burke, my assistant. He's a first-class surgeon and an excellent architect. It's he who designed this house. This is Bert Yeager, an engineer of genius. He designed and built my special operating table. It permits me to work without assistance. He's a little strange, the result of a brain operation. But he's a good and faithful collaborator and worthy of our confidence. We all live here together. Where are you from, by the way?
I can't even tell you, Professor. I was the only survivor of a shipwreck. Both of my parents died. I was a few months old.
You have a very strange name.
That was the name of the wrecked ship, SS Ood.
Nah. Dr. Hartman has recommended you highly. Why do you wish to work with me?
I have followed your recent experiments with great interest, Professor, especially that in which you succeeded in removing the head from a dog's body and keeping it alive for 4 months.
But the Russians performed that experiment months before I did.
We plan to conduct a series of unprecedented experiments shortly on keeping human tissue alive after death.
I'm particularly interested in the grafting of healthy organs to replace diseased ones.
That is a field in which I'm extremely interested.
Ah, well then you're the man we're looking for. This is my operating room. You will find everything you'll ever need here. Electrocardiograph, electrocephalograph, and this is my silent assistant which Bert built for me. And that is my Serum Z. With this serum, I'm able to keep an organ alive after separating it from its body.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's absolutely sensational. Why have you kept this a secret, Professor?
Oh, do you think it's so important? I'm not an ambitious man. What's important for me is the progress of science. Yes, that was used to support the dog's head.
Theoretically, one should be able to repeat the experiment with a man's head.
But that's absurd. I would never have thought of such a thing.
I said theoretically, Professor.
Yes, you're perfectly right. Theoretically, it's possible. Thanks to the advances of modern surgery and my development of serum Z, it's possible to consider operations which would until recently have been considered unthinkable. When can you move in with us, sir?
Whenever you wish, Professor. Tomorrow.
Good. Walter, leave us alone.
Bert,
Yes?
what do you think of the new man?
I don't know. But the professor needs him.
Dr. Oud. Do forgive me, but I must call your attention to a most important fact. The professor has a weak heart. A very weak heart. I love him dearly. Any undue emotion might bring on
I'm here for only one purpose, to work. Good evening.
You got a big kick out of taking your clothes off in front of those slobs, don't you?
If you want to make me a better offer, go ahead. I'm sick of standing around shivering and playing the model for you.
Nobody says you have to. I just don't like seeing you undressed in front of others.
Uh-huh. You're jealous, plain jealous. If you don't like it, do something about it. We could live like millionaires if you wanted. If your father, the great John Lerner, would only make you work a little on your law examinations long enough to get your diploma. You and your pictures. Who'd buy any of your pictures?
Oh, be quiet. You make me sick.
I make you sick, huh? Who needs you anyway?
Miss Lily, on stage.
Yes, I'm coming. So I make you sick, huh?
1 minute to go, Miss Lily.
Just wait.
One very dry martini for Miss Lily. And whiskey for you, Paul. Come on, let's make up again.
Oh, leave me alone. I disgust you, don't forget.
We say a lot of things when we're mad.
Another martini, please, Frank.
Lily, don't drink so much.
Another one, Frank, please.
Don't be like that.
Oh, stop it. Always the same old tricks.
I'm sorry.
Gentlemen, will you please examine these two X-ray plates? Both patients are in serious condition. One photo is that of the spinal column of a young man, the other that of an old man's heart.
Fracture of the vertebral column with partial rupture of the spinal cord. I see no hope for surgical intervention. Who is the man?
An unidentified man. A tramp run down on the highway. He hasn't long to live. Now you, Dr. Hood.
Innervation of the heart, possible rupture of the artery in a very short time.
Incurable?
We have one chance. Give this man here a new heart right away. For example, the heart of that man.
Exactly. This operation will be performed. Yes, the photo on the left is of my own heart, gentlemen.
But, Professor, I'm sorry to have to say so, but we can't possibly go that far.
We shall go ahead with it. I haven't much time. Neither does he. Come over here. I've worked out exactly how we shall proceed. First phase.
Walter? Here's the case history. I'm afraid it's completely hopeless.
I know, but we're going to try anyway.
Is there anything the matter?
No, I'll see you later, Irene.
Goodbye.
Examined his heart?
Yes, I did, Professor. Everything's all right.
Good. Bert, listen carefully. Listen very carefully to what I say. We're attempting an operation that has never been done. It will be very complicated. You must do whatever Dr. Hood tells you to do. Do you understand? Even if what you do seems very strange. Promise me that.
Yes, I promise, sir.
Good, my boy. Gentlemen, shall we begin?
It's now exactly 9:47. We operate in 12 hours. 2 hours from now, we shall examine the heart again.
I'll do that.
Yes. Oh, you're gonna look good hanging from my rearview mirror. Yes. Yes, tonight's film inspired me to do a little of my own experimentation, and while I was out stalking my local haunts, I happened upon this unfortunate individual. I can't hardly wait till Christmas to open my prize. Oh, what the heck? Let's have a look at him now.
Hey, it's Mike Massey on Monkey's Adventures. You never know where you're gonna go on Monkey's Adventures. Wonderful feeling.
Oh my.
Happy again. Yeah. Hey, it's me, Mike Massey from Monkey's Adventures. You never know where you're gonna go.
Oh dear, it seems I've tampered with a renowned personality as my victim tonight. I wonder if that violates some sort of famous personage code of conduct or something. Oh well, my sincere apologies to any viewers of the popular show Mikey's Adventures. I've apparently denogonized your host.
Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. Hey, Hey, look, folks, it's Orrin Grimsby. What luck? How you doing, buddy? I've been wanting to interview with you for like weeks and months and years, and you eyes are very nice. Did you bleach them out, or what's going on with that, buddy?
Yeah, see, first of all, this is my show, and...
Okay, yeah, we're moving on. Dude, what's with all these shrunken heads? I mean, when you collect them or something, some kind of creepy hobby, whatever blows your whistle, right? What? Not talking about the real heads, but, you know, are they real heads? Because if they are, I gotta get out of here. What, did you get them on eBay or something? What's happening with that?
Sure, yeah, that's how I get them. And I'm going to be adding another to my collection very soon.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Next question. I've never seen hair stand up as straight as yours, except for when Ben Stiller used the wrong, product in his hair, like in Something About Mary. So just between me and you, what's your secret? Is that your secret too?
Yeah, you know, you're not really getting the whole "you're dead" thing, are you? I mean, seriously, you're a head in a box. You need to stop talking now.
What? Oh, I'm dead?
Yes, Miss Marple, thank you for joining us. I'll walk you through the scenario very slowly, okay? Me take big sharp cleaver, go chop chop. Mikey's head go plop plop. Me bring it home for gruesome fun, but it chits and chats as if head and body are still one. Oh, there we go. I think we're finally on the same page. Now shut it till the show's over. Now then, back to the film.
Dr. Ood! Dr. Ood! Come quickly! Quick's dead! What are you doing?
I'm going to cover the body.
Why?
Why? The operation is impossible now. I have told you that the man's already dead. What are you doing there?
We'll operate anyway.
But are you out of your mind?
We have one chance to save the professor's life, and we can't waste time. We have to try.
You mean giving the professor the dead man's heart? I won't let you do it.
Get out!
I'm going to call the morgue. Tell them to pick up the body.
Put down that telephone.
It's true. You really are insane.
Scalpel. Tampon. Clamps. Clamps.
Heart weakening. Respiration weakening. Respiration stopped.
Serum Z.
Be calm, Professor. Too much emotion can be extremely dangerous now. Do you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
I'll give you the facts. The man whose heart we'd planned to use died before the operation. Dr. Burke lost his nerve and ran out on us. I attempted to take the heart of the dead man and to graft it in place of yours. But your body didn't survive the shock. That left me only one last chance. And that was to perform the dog operation on your head. And I succeeded. I have beaten death. You will live.
What kind of a monster are you, Ood? You want a freak to show in the circuses? You're capable of it. Kill me.
No, Professor, you will live. You're a great man, a scientist. Your brain made you great. The rest doesn't count. I've kept your brain alive. You will live. You'll live. I've saved your brain for mankind, Professor.
You're not human. You cannot make me do it. I refuse. I won't do it. Who gave permission to you for this operation?
Did you ask the dog permission before you operated?
A dog is not a human being. He's only for science. Oh, kill me, Ood. I don't want to go on living now.
No. You think. And so you will live.
Yes, perhaps you're right. I've no more strength left. I'm confused. I'm tired. Let me sleep. I must sleep.
Actually, increase the oxygen supply.
Is he alive?
Yes. You may see him.
Thanks for tuning in to tonight's film. And again, I'm Mikey from Mikey's Adventures.
You know, can I do my line first? Thank you. Okay, all right, you boob tube lovers out there. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for tonight's fiendish festivities. Be sure to check us out again next week for the chilling conclusion to The Head.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in to tonight's film. And once again, I'm Mikey from Mikey's Adventures.
What did I tell you? Zip your lips before I stitch them together.
I'm sorry. I won't say it anymore.
Let me see, that's better. Let me see now, where was I? Oh yes, if any of you loyal viewers out there have something fun you'd like to see on Monster Creature Feature, shoot us a note at grimsby@mcftv.com. And we would like to give a big thank you to Gary Pullen and Mikey from Mikey's Adventures.
Oh, and check out Mikey's Adventures on MySpace. Check him out.
For being on tonight's show. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our website at www.mcftv.com. Until next week, I am your deceased but not dead host, Ormon Grimsby, the Undertaker, wishing you a good night. And may all your dreams be nightmares. Ciao. Time to get to work.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in to Mikey's Adventures. Well, now Mikey's Adventures is Ormon.